Hi guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel and fun, informative recipe tutorials. If you love learning about cake baking and want to know all of my insider baking secrets, please subscribe and turn on notifications. I'm also now on Instagram and Facebook as Jillian the Foodie, so please follow me for super quick reels with helpful hints and inspiration.
Actually, it's probably the best option, really.
Today, I'm starting a brand new video category called Masterclasses. I'm so excited. It's really because I want to be able to take you through the process of a multi-recipe project and have a beautiful end product to show for it. Up until now, my videos have mostly shown you how to make one cake, and I've directed you to my other shorter videos to learn how to make the icing or the filling. So these masterclasses will be my all-in-one project videos, and expect to be on with me for a bit longer than usual, but I promise I'll make it worth your while. For my first masterclass, I'm going to be taking you through how to make unicorn cupcakes. So these are being made for a special order for a friend's daughter, so I thought I might as well film it at the same time. I'll show you up front what you need to purchase to make all of the recipes today, and then take you through the equipment as well. So let's get to it. Masterclass, 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 yeah, yeah, yeah. This will be a 4-part series. Part 1 are the horns and the ears. Part 2 will make the cupcake itself. Part 3 is for the multicolored icing. And Part 4 finally, we'll take all of the moving parts and assemble them into our finished unicorn cupcake. This introduction will show you all of the ingredients you'll need prior to beginning our project. Gather all of your ingredients together for the fondant, horns and ears. White fondant, pink food colouring, Tylose, or sometimes called CMC powder, and vegetable shortening. You can use Crisco or Kofa. For your equipment, you'll need a sharp paring knife, a water bowl, a paintbrush which is only used for food, toothpicks or lollipop sticks, and a sheet of bubble wrap to lay your horns on to dry. Start by breaking off a small amount of your fondant. You'll need to keep your fondant covered at all times, otherwise the edges will start to dry and crust over, and no one can work with crusty fondant. Put a small amount of the Tylose powder into your fondant. It's not an exact measurement, so just eyeball it. Work it in thoroughly. Then start to roll it into a thin rope. Make the ends of the fondant tapered slightly so the horn is pointy at the end. Fold it in half and apply some water to the fondant. Grab the tapered ends in one hand and twist the thicker end with the other hand. This will take practice to get the twists even and looking tight. If you bomb on your first few tries, the good news is that it's just like Play-Doh, and you can scrunch it back up into a ball and roll it out again. You'll eventually master it, so don't give up. Once it's looking like a perfect horn, measure the length and keep it in mind for each horn so that all the cupcakes look uniform. Uniform unicorns is what we like to see. I use my index finger to measure against because I know that the size of the horn will look good on my cupcakes. Later on, I'll show you a horn that's worthy for a regular cake. You can use toothpicks or lollipop sticks. Just keep your intended consumer in mind. For example, if the cupcakes are for a young child's birthday party, then you'll want to use the lollipop sticks for safety. Insert the stick into the bottom of the horn and set it aside on the bubble wrap or anything cushiony that you can find. To make a bigger horn, Just use the same principle with more fondant and use a lollipop stick or a wooden dowel for more stability. Make sure you allow the bigger horns at least 24 to 48 hours to fully dry before you need them for your cake. Now, let's start work on our ears. For your equipment, you'll need a small round cutter, a small fondant rolling pin, a paintbrush, a water bowl, and I have a butter knife ready in case I need it. Repeat the same process for the fondant and the Tylose. Have some spare icing sugar at the ready to sprinkle on the bench and the rolling pin to prevent your fondant from sticking to either. Then start rolling your fondant as thin as you can. So at this point, it's really important to work as quickly as you can because the Tylose will cause the fondant to harden. And since it's such a thin piece, it will only take about 30 minutes before it will start to crack and become difficult to shape into delicate little ears. Now for the cutting of the ears, I use the bottom of one of my piping tubes. So if you don't have any fondant cutters, you can use anything that you can find with a small cutting circle. My paintbrush doubles as a fancy fondant release mechanism. Bet you've never seen anything like this before. Fancy. Cut out 24 circles because you'll need 2 ears for each cupcake, assuming that you're making a dozen. Now, if you want bigger ears, then just find a bigger cutter. It's really up to you. Once you have those done, gather up all the leftovers and color it with pink food coloring. Only a tiny drop, as a little goes a long way. I'm adding a bit of extra fondant because I think I'll need it to make the 12 circles. Not a big deal, just incorporate it into the pink bowl. And if you need to add more color, then just adjust it at the end. I think mine looks just perfect, so I won't add any more color. Again, roll your fondant as thin as possible so the ears look pretty and delicate. When you go to cut your pink fondant, just give the cutter a bit of a clean around the edges so the circles are crisp and clean. You'll need 12 circles of the pink for the insides of the unicorn ears because we cut both ears out of one circle. Next step is to cut 2 oval-shaped pieces out of one circle. They will have pointy ends, and that will give it a realistic look to the ear lining. Or if you have a leaf-shaped cutter, you can use that too. I just don't keep a lot of fancy equipment in my kitchen, so I'm always looking for ways to improvise. I'm going to take my butter knife and make an indentation right down the center of each of the white circles. Now, working as quickly as you can, dab the white circles with a small brushing of water to act as glue when you stick them together. Now, when you're putting the pink fondant onto the white circles, use the middle indentation to line up the pointy ears so that it's directly in the center. Take each circle in your fingers and pinch both ends. One end will be the tip of the ear, so don't pinch that as much as the bottom end. Pinch hard, pinch soft, pinch hard, pinch soft. Kind of like how I used to do with my big brother. I'd run past him and pinch him, and then he'd run after me and pinch me twice as hard. I'd go running to my mum saying that he pinched me, but I'd get in trouble because I started it. Anywho, I digress. Continue until all of the ears are formed, then leave them to dry completely. This should take about 25 minutes to 1 hour, depending on the thickness of your fondant, the humidity in your kitchen, and the amount of water you use to glue it together. Now that the fondant work is done, let's make our cupcakes. Gather your ingredients. Unsalted butter at room temperature, caster or fine-grained sugar, salt, eggs also at room temperature, plain flour, baking powder, milk, again, room temperature. I'll explain in a minute. And finally, vanilla paste. Cream your butter, sugar, and salt together until very light and creamy for about 5 to 10 minutes. Guys, I just want to stop at this juncture just to talk to you a little bit about this step. I know I'm always harping on you guys about creaming your butter and your sugar for a long period of time so that it gets nice and fluffy. Well, for cupcakes, it's even more important. So the more time that you can give your butter and your sugar to cream and get fluffy and nice and light, the fluffier your cupcakes are going to be. It should look like this and be beautiful, light colored, very fluffy, and ready to take your eggs on. Add 1 egg at a time and thoroughly cream it in before adding the next one. Don't worry that it looks like your mixture has turned into big curds. It's temporary until the egg protein is mixed into the butter. I usually scrape my sides down at this point. Scrape, scrape, scrape. Add your vanilla paste and try to get the actual paste or even real vanilla seeds so as not to add any more liquid to this batter. It's got quite a lot of liquid in it already, so it just makes it harder to incorporate all of it into a fluffy cake batter. sift your flour and baking powder together. Then we'll add it plus the milk in alternating fashion. I like to add milk first to loosen up the fatty butter mixture, and that way you'll mix the flour a lot less, which means more tender crumb in your cake. While the mixer is on low, keep adding your milk and flour a little bit at a time until it's all gone. Remember how I told you to make sure your butter, eggs, and milk were at room temperature? That's so the mixture won't seize up and curdle. Not to get too technical, but butter is a fat. Solid fats typically don't like to mix with liquids unless those liquids are warm. Try mixing ice water into butter and see how hard it is. So too if you hit it with a cold egg or cold milk. It'll take a lot longer to incorporate because the fat molecules clump together again. When all of the ingredients are added, just give it one last scrape down to ensure a homogeneous or even batter. Okay, hot tip of the day. So I want to talk to you guys about the importance of having a really good scale when you bake a lot. So for me, it just takes the guesswork out of whether my cup measures are too light or too packed. I'm sure you've worried whether you have too much flour or not enough in that cup, because let's face it, the amount one person can stuff into a cup is completely different to another. So if you wonder why your cakes and cookies are dry or floury, that's probably one of the reasons. With a scale, you can make it exactly the same every single time. And you can get a recipe from anywhere in the world. And you have no problem making it where you live. So please seriously consider purchasing a scale to make your baking easier. I swear by mine, and I weigh everything from my morning cereal to my cat's food, not just when I'm baking, and that is not a joke. Now, when I buy cupcake wrappers, I never know how much batter to put in them to ensure they don't look too small or over full and muffin-like. So what I like to do is bake off 3 testers in different weights and decide which one looks best. Then I fill all 12 cupcake wrappers with the amount of batter that I like. So today I'm testing 45, 50 and 55 grams. Alright, so I've finished baking my samples and looking at each of the 45 gram, 50 and the 55 gram. I think for my project, the 45 gram cupcake looks the best. There's a tiny bit of a point or a dome on it, but not much. That'll give me a really good surface to pipe my icing. 44 grams. Okay, 1 more gram. 1 more gram. Come on. Okay, call me obsessive, but 44 is not 45. All of my cupcakes have 45 grams of batter in them, and it's time to bake them. Okay, I'll pop them in the oven and give them 12 minutes, then check. It's really important not to overbake cupcakes, and it's easy to do because it's such a little amount of batter. So if 12 minutes isn't enough, then check it again after another 3 minutes, and so on. There's nothing worse than dry, crumbly cupcakes. When they're finished, pop them on the side to cool completely. Now let's prepare the 3 icing colors. Gather all of your ingredients together. Your cream cheese, unsalted butter at room temperature, salt, icing sugar, vanilla paste, and 3 food colors of your choice. Add cream cheese and again room temperature butter and your salt into the mixture. If your butter is too cold at this point, you will have lumpy icing, and the only way to get butter lumps out of icing is to dump it into a food processor or a blender, re-chill it, then re-whip it. Now, if this happens to you, please go to my tutorial titled 5 Tips to Fix Cake Mistakes. The link is above and I'll put it up again at the end of the video. Mix it, then whip it for about 5 to 10 minutes. Then add your vanilla paste and your icing sugar. And whip it. Whip it good. Divide the icing into 3 bowls equally. I think they end up being about 300 grams each, give or take. And color them to your liking. Grab the piping tip of your choice and insert it into your piping bag. For this project, I chose Wilton's Open Star Tip, size 1M. Measure a length of plastic wrap just shorter than your piping bag and lay each color next to each other. You can pipe them neatly or just use a spatula like I do. It makes it easier, and if you're doing 3 colors, it won't make a difference. If you're using, say, 4 colors or more, then I would go ahead and put them all in a separate piping bag and neatly pipe them out to ensure each color gets an equal showing. Take the edge of the plastic wrap and roll the icing like a sausage. Leaving one end open and tying off the other. Insert the open end into the bag and start piping. Now for the assembly of all the parts. It's what you've stuck around for, so thank you very much. Insert the unicorn horn into the center of the cupcake at a slight angle. Then place the ears to either side of the horn and just slightly in front. How sweet do these unicorn cupcakes look? You can add some gold luster dust to the horns for that extra touch of magic, or leave them pure white. I have to give a shout out to Cupcake Gemma, whose tutorial I watched to complete this project and make my own shoot for you guys. So thanks for your inspiration, Gemma. You're the best. And there you have it. Delicious. And cute to boot.
Well, there you have it, folks. It's my first masterclass and you've already learned how to make beautiful little unicorn cupcakes. I really hope you liked watching it and learned something new today. Please click on the thumbs up icon, subscribe to my channel and turn on your notifications. If you have any questions, please write them in the comments below and I'll answer them as quickly as I can. Until next time, tell the people closest to you that you love them. See you soon. And I weigh everything from my morning cereal to my cat food. To my cat's food. Fondant unicorn horns, sometimes also called rolled icing.